So if you're new to real estate photography and you're getting overwhelmed, you're seeing a lot of tutorials, and you're just not getting it, you're in the right place. I was there too. I was watching other tutorials, and I was getting so overwhelmed at all the different layers that you had to create and blending modes and, different flash pops all over the place. So over time, I have tried to simplify it, not only to make it easier on myself, but also to make it faster for me in the editing room. So one of the big changes that I implemented maybe last year or 2 years ago was going with the lights off method. Using natural light, the natural daylight coming in, really has made my workflow not only easier, but faster on site too. Now again, I will say that make sure that you're talking with the realtor and they're okay with you doing that, but make sure you're practicing that, having examples to show them. So that's the one thing that I'm going to show you here. 2 methods. One method where all you need is one ambient shot and one flash shot, and you're going to blend those together seamlessly, and it's going to look really good. You're not going to have to do like 500 different layers and doing multiple flash pops on either side of the room and all this other stuff. It's just, for real estate photography, if you're going to be in this business as a career and actual make it your full-time gig, you're going to be needing to do, on average, at least 2 listings every day, 5 days a week. And so, again, that's going to vary. Some days you're going to be able to do, 3. Some days you're going to be able to charge more because you're doing video. There's days where I make $1,500 in one day, and then there's days I go a couple days with nothing. So it averages out to be a good business. So let me take you into Lightroom right now. I'm going to show you the techniques I use to make this super simple. Though before we go, though, I'm going to show you every method that I'm going to show you here is running with one flash on top of the camera, where it's on my Let me show you the trigger I use. So I'm on a Micro Four Thirds system, and we'll get into that in another video. But I'm using the X1T trigger, and it has a hot shoe on the top of it, so that allows me to put my flash right on top. And then I have my AD200 that I can use to run around to doing my other multiple flash pops if I need to. So the first example is going to be with just one flash bouncing it off the ceiling, and then the second example I'm going to show you is a larger room where we have to do 2 separate flash pops, and I'll explain why we do that. But super simple, not confusing blending modes at all. Let's get into Lightroom right now, and I'll show you how to do this. All right, so here's our first example, and this is a shot of a kitchen. This was actually an Airbnb gig that I got as a referral from a realtor who sold this property to the new owners who are using it as a rental, an Airbnb. So look at this, straight out of camera. Look at the natural light coming in. Now, you wouldn't want to just deliver this image, although you technically could, depending on the style. But for real estate, technically we want to have that window view a little bit more pronounced there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my interior first bump here. And again, creating a preset is super simple. Move your sliders over here. Adjust them how you wish. Up the exposure, whatever, making sure that histogram is showing to the right of center here, and just looking at your image. A lot of times, though, you want to gauge your exposure off your histogram. And again, you want to watch, since we're doing a flash combo in this tutorial, in the flambient method, we don't have to worry about overexposing the windows. And again, that's why when you are on site, your ambient layer can be overexposed in the highlights, because we're not going to use the highlight part of the ambient image. Really, if we go the lights off method that I'm trying to teach you, that you can use the ambient layer as the majority of your light source, using the flash pop to fill in any shadows and to get your window views. And then you blend those together. I'm going to show you a super easy way to do that. So this looks good. I'm going to now show you my flash shot. And again, really, we have nice natural, it looks like it's natural light, just dimmed out a little bit. And that's the secret to your flash shot, is to, if you want to blend it seamlessly with your ambient layer and make it quicker, that you shoot in a way that it almost looks like natural light. So let's do my interior first bump here. We're going to bump that exposure up just a little bit, just so it blends better. I'm going to highlight the flash layer, which is already highlighted, Command, and then click on the ambient layer, right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. All right, and this is the method that I use, that I have been using for a while, and it works 95% of the time. Taking my ambient layer, don't do any other changes to it. Literally just take the ambient layer and drop the opacity to 50%. Now, if you want to simply paint in more flash, then let's just come down here and click on this layer mask. Just leave it white. Don't invert it. Make sure black is selected over here. And then you can just use your paintbrush and paint back in a little bit of that flash, to reduce some of that. Now, there was a house right across the street here, so that's what that is. It's siding on a house that's right next to it. So again, a lot of times you don't really want a nice clear view of the outside, depending on what your view of the outside is. And we're dealing with a little bit of color cast issues, but we're going to fix that once we bring it into Lightroom. And honestly, this one looks really good to me. I can tell there's a little bit of a blue tint on the refrigerator, and that's about it. Okay, let's right click, let's flatten image, and then Command S to save it. And let's bring it back into Lightroom. All right, and again, just like I did my initial preset, I created one for a final bump. Where is it? Interior final. And I like to drop those blacks down a little bit more. But right there, look at how nice that looks. And if you want to take the blues out, we can go right here on the blue slider, make sure saturation is highlighted. Now, this will work if there's no other blue in the scene. For example, if you have a nice blue sky, of course, this is going to pull out blue on it. So be careful of that. But if you can see, now if we just toggle this on and off, how it took a little bit of the blue glare out of that fridge. Moving on to the next example. This is going to be one if we need to do multiple flash pops in a room. So this room was a little bit too big to just bounce the flash off the ceiling. That's why I run with that flash sitting on top of the camera. And then I can go to the back of the room here and light this section right here. And then I light this section. So by running with the flash on top of the camera, we're able to seamlessly blend just two flash images. We got one over there and one over there. And these are all before I do any presets to them. Oh, no, they are. But we can... Let me look at the ambient layer. Okay, this one is corrected. I did my interior first bump. On this one, looks like we can maybe bump that exposure up a little bit. But we got to watch that we're not destroying our window view. And it was a cloudy, overcast day, but there is a lake view there. So we wanted to be able to make sure we see the lake out of that. And on this side. So let's highlight all three of these. Right click and bring them into Photoshop. So here is the simplest method that I have found to blend those two flash images together to get yourself out of the image and then work with that ambient layer as if we were doing just the 50-50 blend like we did in the previous demonstration. So for this particular situation, let's just turn off our ambient layer right now. We don't need it. Come down here to your top flash layer, click on the layer mask, and we're going to Command I to invert it. And then you're going to come over here, make sure white is selected, and use your gradient tool. And now we're going to click anywhere in front of ourselves and bring it over somewhere before where you were standing. And you can keep doing this to try to blend that flash together. Now this section was a little bit small. We're going to deal with that with the ambient layer. We just want to have an even blend right there. So now what we need to do is simply turn on our ambient layer, make sure it's selected, and again, try it, adjust it, drop the ambient layer to 50% opacity. And what we can do is we're going to paint back in that flash right here, clicking on your layer mask, making sure black is selected now. Get your brush tool, and then just paint back in that window view. And again, this wasn't a super strong window pull, but you can definitely tell there's a lake there. And honestly, for lake homes, your exterior shots are going to really sell that property. All right, so as I'm looking at this image, I realize that, you know what, we still have an unnatural flash spot there, that 50-50 blend. I really don't like it because we have a shadow right here, but that's simple. Let's just dump this in the trash. We're going to take and bring this opacity back up to 50% or 100%, and then do a complete layer mask hide on that. Make sure white is selected, and now we can make sure, and again, check your brush tool, make sure your hardness is all the way to 0 and your flow is low. I like to fit 6% to me just seems good. And what I'm doing here is my left and right brackets on the screen make your brush tool bigger or smaller. Okay, so I just let you feather that natural light in. And that's why I love going with lights off, because you're not dealing with different color white balance, different, it's even across the board. And see that? It's just natural looking. That's how it looks. I don't know. I love the natural light look. And again, it's washing out that TV, but we can fix that by just bringing in, and I'm going to command, and then either minus makes the screen bigger or plus makes it bigger. And we can, again, left bracket to make that smaller. Switch your brush tool to black and just paint that TV back in with the flash. And if you watch my full tutorial, which I'll leave a link to that at the end of this, I'll show you how using a circular polarizer filter will fix glare on TVs, glare on wood floors, all that stuff. It's full tutorial on-site demos of a bunch of different lighting techniques. You might find that super useful. So I like the way that looks. It looks like we might be able to blend some more flash in. I'm just clicking here and dabbing. I don't want to bring in those shadows by that tripod. Being careful of the wood floor here, just painting back in some flash so it doesn't look so washed out. Let's right click, flatten image, Command S to save it, and right back into Lightroom. And then we're just putting our interior final bump on it. And again, you can adjust those blacks. I love adjusting the blacks because it just gives it like a super high contrast without looking fake. And there you go. All right, so please leave me a comment if you have any questions on this method. I'm here to help you, but make sure to check out this tutorial. This is the full tutorial that I have demonstrated a bunch of different lighting techniques. I think you'll find it useful. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.